It's Black History Month, so let's dig into some black topics, and one of the more complicated topics of this season, because you know I love a good mess that's entwined with a good dose of political history. And so here we are on the topic of Kamala Harris, former California State Attorney General and current California United States Senator, who recently announced their Democratic candidacy for President of the United States of America. That sounds so patriotic, bitch, which I am not. So Kamala is a child of two immigrant parents with a Jamaican father and Indian mother. Born in 1964, she spent her first 12 years in Berkeley/Oakland, I guess, depends on who she's talking to, as both of her parents were in graduate school. And then once they divorced, she spent her teen years in Montreal, Canada. She then went to the illustrious Howard University, pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha, historic African American sorority, and got her JD, Juris Doctorate, her law degree, from UC Hastings. All that context was necessary because blackness, both how Kamala views her black identity and subsequently performs her blackness while on the campaign trail, will populate many of the questions and critiques we have of her. Kamala is the third black woman to run for the highest office in our nation, following Shirley Chisholm and Cara Mosley Braun, both members of one Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, in case you didn't know. Now, if Kamala wins the Democratic nomination with her multi-hyphenate identity, she would be the second African American, second woman, and first Asian American nominee in the presidential primaries. Now, I want to take a step back before we really get into the weeds, because Kamala, we have to know, she had a privileged childhood that is atypical of the average black American descendant of slaves experience in this country. Different from most of our parents, and for you young folks whose grandma was born in 1960 something, girl, I can't relate. But your grandparents' experience too, I'm just covering everybody because I'm old. It's all right. Indian grandfather was a diplomat. Both of her parents were well educated. Her sister, who is now helping to head up her campaign, is a former MSNBC analyst and policy advisor for Hillary Clinton. Kamala's brother-in-law is a former Associate United States Attorney General under Barack Obama. Girl got connections, it's looking real cute over here. I personally don't think her personal backstory is much different from one Barack Obama, but the one glaring difference is that bad bitch from the south side of Chicago, Michelle LaVaughn Obama. Is it Vaughn or LaVaughn? Much of Barack's blackness and how we subsequently viewed his blackness is tethered to Michelle. Barack could not have had anyone besides Michelle as his wife. No light-skinned, black adjacent, or non-black wife would have gotten Barack into the White House. We see you, Cory Booker, over there looking like a Q-tip. No. It will be interesting to see how much Kamala talks up her experience at Howard University or pledging AKA. I thought it was very interesting that her Wikipedia made sure to note that she, with references by the way, that she went to both a Black Baptist church, and Hindu temple as a child and sang in the Black Baptist choir. I guess she too is familiar with the musical selections of Kirk Franklin, Shirley Caesar. Girl, I didn't even grow up in the black church, so I'm still catching up myself, but she know. It'll be interesting to see how it comes up on the campaign trail and what people's reception to that is. I don't want to get too caught up on the superficial conversation about Kamala identifying as black. She a black woman. She okay. She does have a white husband who she married when she was like 44, 45. They've been married for about 5 years now. For me, it's definitely not an issue or an indictment on how she views black people. She has a noted record of dating black men like Montel Williams, and she held out on marriage until her 40s. So, I ain't worried. We good. Kamala is a black American woman, as I said already. On the campaign trail, she might walk the line on how hard she pushes forth that identity. She sounds like a black woman, not my variety of black, though. She sounds like way out of my tax bracket black, but she sounds like, I'm getting black. All right, everything from her, it's black to me, okay? I don't think that's a issue worth getting caught up on about, right, this whole thing about, first of all, don't let your bigotry jump out too quickly here, you know what I mean? You're getting caught up about her being a child of immigrants as if to say that she has not had an experience in America as a black woman walking, through society here. She has. Now, on the campaign trail, she might walk the line on how hard she pushes forth this identity of I am black woman, because one, the Indian American community is a growing and very wealthy voting bloc, particularly existing in red states. Hello, Texas. And two, I mean, we know how the electorate works, and them proud to be middle American rural states carry way more weight than they should. And I'm positive part of Kamala's strategy, Kamala, let me get that extra syllable correct, is to re-galvanize the center-right voters who voted for Obama in 2008. So go on, be American, sis. I get it. Am I fucking with it? But you know, I understand. Politics on politics. So go ahead, politics. Now, let us actually get into the weeds of what we're here for. When Kamala announced her candidacy on January 21st, the day after the 47th anniversary of my soror, Shirley Chisholm's presidential bid announcement, a catalyst for change. You know, that was just, you know, Kamala is definitely not unbought, though she may be unbossed, but my timeline was lit up with everyone and their mama stepping up to the mic called their Facebook status, with folks bemoaning anyone critiquing Kamala, correcting the air pocket of people who are not on their friends list, so would not be seeing their statuses anyway, but hey, go off, sis. But nonetheless, correcting them for their misogyny, which you absolutely always call it the misogyny and patriarchy, yes. We're not here for any of it. And just really more so calling out anyone who was critiquing Kamala. And I'm scrolling through all this like, whoa, 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 whoa. We as black people do need to have a conversation and get ahead of the Russian bots with their misinformation to discuss the complicated politics of Kamala Harris. Like we need to have this conversation, right? Because, you know, our votes matter. And, ooh, I mean, if y'all didn't know, as someone who's been talking about this since 2015, I've been trying to tell y'all, don't get y'all education through Facebook memes. And who got the most by some of these Russian bots in the 2016 election? African Americans. So let's just, come on, let's huddle together. Let's have this conversation. Let's work through it together, all right? Kamala was a district attorney in San Francisco before becoming the state attorney general, and her politics have evolved, though it is not unfair to call her a neoliberal, as she definitely pushed forth hard-on-crime positions and policies that took a carceral approach to systemic issues. That means her approach walked the line on pushing more people into the criminal justice system. For instance, she declined to join other state efforts to remove marijuana from the DEA's most dangerous substance list, basically upholding the criminalization of marijuana in a state where medical marijuana is legal, but you know, capitalism is going to capitalize, and the people that have gone to jail for it, the black and brown people, you know how this works. In 2015, as California Attorney General, she pledged that the California Department of Justice would become the first statewide agency to enact a body camera program, but was against regulating the use of body cameras statewide for law enforcement. So like, you couldn't require that they wear them at all times with them on? I don't understand. She broadly supported the death penalty. She has spoken with pride about criminalizing truancy and pushing parents through the court system. On the flip side, as a San Francisco district attorney, she refused to seek the death penalty against a man convicted of shooting a police officer. She enacted a back on track program for first-time drug offenders to help them get high school diplomas and a job instead of prison time. She pushed back against California's three-strike law requiring the San Francisco district attorney office, which she headed up at the time, to only charge a third strike as a felony if it was a serious or violent crime. And that three-strike law made it mandatory that you would get a 25-year sentence on your third strike if you were found guilty. And your third strike was automatically charged as a felony. So she then launched Open Justice to track reports of killings by police officers, and I mean, just all around. I find her to be a very complicated political persona. But I think also our understanding of her being complicated and the way we're now critiquing her is quite different for many of us in how we critiqued past politicians, because we're all coming to a better understanding, and I hope we are coming to a better understanding of what we want politically, what policies that we want to see change. If we're going to critique, I hope we're critiquing from a space of taking a more active role in the political process that impacts us all. You know, I myself have never lived in California, so I do not want to discount her constituents who have a way more personal ties to how her politics impacted them. It is absolutely fair to critique the lackluster criminal justice policy Kamala Harris has waded back and forth on. She's also pro-Israel, a quizzical position for any black person to be co-signing. You know, the modern colonization of European imperialists. Like, how weird, how odd. Sis, what you doing? On a more shallow level, I do not find Kamala to be endearing when she talks. Like, you know, the side eyes, the disposition, that, you know, I relate to all of that. I enjoy watching her work on the Senate floor, but as an orator, speaking to me as a voter, I find her to be, you know, slightly just, you know, man, it's a smidge. out of touch. She, to me, reads as a wealthy, intelligent black woman, and we do have a class issue in America, and we definitely have a class issue in the black community. Maybe Kamala just relates more to like the Jack and Jill Blavity Black or the wealthy black immigrant, you know, networks. Because to me, I'm just like, nah. The unfortunate part is that most of the presidential election is fought on emotion. You know, it's campaigned on emotion, how we make people feel or how the candidates make people feel. Hence why we get so much pandering in an election year. To the blacks, to the Latinos, to the LGBTQ+, to the Jewish, to the middle America Rust Belt worker, to the evangelical Christians. Girl, they a whole mess. But yeah, and it's exhausting. It really is, because we really should be focusing on understanding one's politics, their political history, what their political goals are. And sis, Miss Harris, we do absolutely have questions, and I just want to know, when do I get to ask them of you? You know, that reminds me to let YouTube know Glozell's not the only black woman available or representative. You know, girl, sis, when they do the political campaigns for next year, hello. But back to the more serious aspect of it, I don't have any real frame of reference. You know, there's bits, there's pieces, there's sound bites, small things in reference to Kamala's foreign policy aptitude and what that will be. You know, education, taxes. I mean, I know she proposed the middle class tax break, but where's the candidates that are going to kill Sally Mae? Can we get a cap on college tuition again, sis? Medicare for all, please, thank you. What's that? How are we gonna do that? Is this thing on? I definitely encourage all of you to, you know, think through the questions that you do have for any candidate of interest. I don't have a firm answer on how you should view Kamala and her politics. I personally do not want a black woman of any ilk to take on the stress of being president directly after Trump. Girl, it's gonna be a shit show. But more so, I definitely do not want another 4 years of Trump. So, I know. It feels good to flex your intelligence as you chastise these mystical other people with your social media statuses. But I want to encourage us all to focus on holding candidates, Kamala, accountable to tuning in, to actively participating and informing ourselves, because she is currently the top runner. I want Kamala to answer our questions, speak genuinely and with integrity, and I really want us all to focus on local elections and supporting diverse candidates for office across race, gender, economic class, able-bodied and disabled, so we can have a better and broader selection for higher office. Please and thanks. This is just not it. Waking up every 4 years like, damn, this really the lesser of what evil? Why these my only options? What's happening here? It's just not the groove. Encourage someone to run for office, fundraise, sponsor them, help them out, get involved in your local municipal politics today. And let me know in the comments down below, if you had a chance to sit down with Kamala Harris and talk about her political history and goals, what one question would you ask? Check you later.